Rachel Senes, and welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the news magazine that takes you inside the city's most important issues, projects, and events. Today we are coming to you from La Arcada in downtown, where First Thursday is happening, one of the city's newest events, an evening of art and culture that happens every first Thursday of the month all year long, from 5 to 8 p.m. And tonight we are joining in the festivities. We'll tell you more about First Thursday in a few minutes, but first, our top story. For a long time, the topic of traffic calming devices had residents going around in circles. Whether you like mini traffic circles, bulb outs, or chicanes, new statistics about the effectiveness of these devices have just been released. You've probably driven around this mini traffic circle on Sola and Alta Vista streets, or through these curb extensions at Garden and Islay streets. And if you have, chances are you've already decided whether or not you like them. Traffic calming devices like these aren't new. In 2001, the city asked a group of Eastside residents to help with traffic problems in their neighborhood, like speeding. What followed was the formation of the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program and City Council's approval of the St. Francis Mobility Plan, which included the installation of various traffic calming measures.
In the area we're concentrating on right now, the St. Francis area by the old St. Francis Hospital, when the old hospital was open, there was concerns about adding a 20,000 square feet to the medical offices and increasing speeds, and people were complaining about the speeds of cars traveling on their streets.
As a longtime resident on Garden Street, George Glarum says he knows firsthand that traffic calming works.
Well, speed has always been a problem on Garden Street. People want to get to work in the morning and want to get home in the evening. And they will usually go above the speed limit until we got the traffic calming devices, which probably reduce the speed on Garden Street 10, maybe more miles an hour. That's a wonderful thing. That's what we want it to happen. They work.
Before and after statistics compiled by the city's Transportation Division confirm Glarum's belief that traffic calming fulfills its purpose. This chart shows the before and after percentage of cars traveling over 35 miles an hour where traffic calming devices are located. For example, Garden and Islay streets where Glarum lives. There are curb extensions and a median island. Before they were installed, 43% of traffic was traveling over 35 miles an hour. After the traffic calming devices were installed, only 5% of traffic at that intersection was traveling over 35 miles an hour. Let's take a look at why city officials think those numbers make sense. Curb extensions like this one here at Garden and Islay streets extend toward the center of the street. This reduces pavement width and encourages drivers to slow down as they navigate through. Curb extensions also decrease the distance pedestrians have to travel to cross the street. This chart also shows a reduction in speed at 4 other traffic-calmed intersections. This chart shows the reduction in average daily traffic on streets with and without traffic calming devices. One theory that has gone around is that the city is attempting to move traffic to other streets so that drivers will avoid using the traffic calming intersections. They've actually seen a larger reduction in traffic on streets without devices. The Transportation Division attributes most of that reduction to the closure of the St. Francis Hospital. But aside from that, the statistics show that cars are not avoiding the traffic-calmed intersections. According to the Transportation Division, these statistics were carefully compiled using different strategies.
We have little boxes that we put on the curb where we actually throw these rubber hoses on the street to count the number of cars and the speed the cars are traveling on the street. And we leave them out for a few days so we can collect data, and then we download the data to the computer. Then we have one of our traffic technicians that compiles the information, analyzes, and produces the reports that you looked at earlier.
With all these statistics now available, the city hopes that the public walks away with one message.
Well, the traffic calming devices do, in fact, slow cars down and make it safer for bicyclists and pedestrians as well as cars. You know, some complaints are, well, the Milpas roundabout, we're seeing an increase in traffic accidents. Well, we've actually seen a decrease in the severity of traffic accidents. The cars are traveling through the intersection at a slower rate of speed.
The city understands that not all drivers like traffic calming devices, but reassures the public that they are never the first choice and that any change on your streets should start with you and your neighbors.
We want the residents in our neighborhoods to try other things. Improving the appearance of the front yards, to get the neighborhood to improve the appearance of the front yard, helps to calm the traffic down. Going to physical improvements is the last thing we want to do.
And even after the temporary devices are installed, the city is open to feedback about their effectiveness.
The reason we did the temporary devices, we did them like in front of the high school on Anapamu Street at Alta Vista. We used traffic cones, and we tried the mini traffic circle to see if it was going to work. And we tweaked the size of it and all that, and we found we weren't getting the yield rates that were acceptable to us. So we took it out, and we're going to curb extensions at that location to make it safer for the high school students that are traveling to the high school.
Where they work, they should be kept. And if they don't work, then pull them and try something else.
6 months after these temporary installations are made permanent, the city will conduct another study on the traffic calming devices. The Architectural Board of Review worked with city staff to design the permanent installations to be more aesthetically pleasing. Construction on making the temporary traffic calming devices permanent will begin later this summer. Well, we are here at La Arcada joining in the First Thursday festivities. In addition to showing the latest visual art exhibits, you can also enjoy live music, a talk or demonstration, a film showing, or a reception for the artists. Well, recently an accident at the Santa Barbara airport had a silver lining. In our next story, City TV's Dominique Blocker tells us how this relatively minor incident didn't become a major tragedy.
On June 10th, a private passenger jet with 15 people aboard began to take off like any of the other 75,000 planes that fly out of Santa Barbara Airport every year. But this departure didn't go as planned. A technical problem caused the pilot to abort the takeoff, which meant stopping the plane as it sped towards the end of the runway at 75 miles per hour. It turned out there wasn't enough space. In fact, the jet skidded more than the length of a football field past the end of runway 725.
You can see the beginning of the skid marks way down there when they began to abort the takeoff. You can see how they slid slightly off the center line. They came right through. The two marks that are close together are the main gear on each side, and it came right through. This area right here is where the creek used to be. This is where it would have nosed right in.
Fortunately for the passengers and crew, an airfield safety project was underway so the airplane had additional space to come to a stop. If this accident had occurred just 6 months ago, the result could have been drastically different. For instance, in 2005, a jet skidded off the runway into a creek and burst into flames at Toronto's Pearson International Airport.
Take a look at the skid marks and imagine the speed at which that aircraft was going. It would not have been a good situation at all.
Since the runway was locked between Fairview Avenue on the east and Tecolontito Creek to the west, the Airfield Safety Project rerouted the creek in order to create the additional space needed. With the creek's move complete, the next phase of repositioning the runway begins this month. In 1928, when Gordon Sackett and Roy Stetson landed their small airplane in a cow pasture in Goleta and set up a flight school, they probably had no idea their actions would impact Santa Barbara aviation 80 years later. It was this airstrip that became a Marine Corps Air Station base and the Santa Barbara Municipal Airport. Although the airfield was adequate for those uses, it wasn't sufficient for a modern airport that serves nearly 1 million passengers each year. Because of its location between the creek and Fairview Avenue, there was only a total of 500 feet of combined overrun area before this project. After the runway relocation, Santa Barbara Airport will meet FAA regulations with 1,000 feet of extra space at each end of the main runway. For the past 30 years, the airport safety areas at each end of the runway have not met FAA recommendations. Without enough space at the beginning and end of the runway, a plane experiencing trouble when taking off or landing has no extra room to maneuver. Without the progress already made during Santa Barbara's Airfield Safety Project, the recent overrun accident could have been devastating.
Because of where the project is now, although it's not quite finished, it's in a situation now where that plane was able to sort of bounce across that dirt and come to a stop. Now, had that creek still been there, the plane would have hit and perhaps gone in, or it would have maybe taken some of the other parts of the aircraft off when it went across. My feeling is it would have been catastrophic breakup of the aircraft.
When we're completed with the safety area project, this entire area will be level and cleared and graded and stabilized.
Once the area is leveled, they will then be able to shift the current runway, keeping its length the same. This will create the recommended 1,000 feet of overrun space on each end of the runway.
We're just very happy that the creek was relocated. I know the pilot's very happy the creek was relocated. Safety area projects are really important. They're one of the highest priority projects that the FAA pursues.
The Airfield Safety Project is scheduled to be completed by November 1st. Well, downtown Santa Barbara has so much to offer, including First Thursday, which is free to the public. The event attracts an estimated 3,000 to 5,000 people to downtown. Well, not too far away is another popular site, Lake Cachuma, a county park that is renowned for a variety of fun things to do. Up next, Brooke Hawkins shows us how the city is involved in a huge project to make sure this local jewel maintains its natural beauty.
With its sweeping views, Lake Cachuma has been a favorite destination since its construction in 1953. The lake is part of the Cachuma Project, which serves as the main water supply that supports the South Coast and the Santa Ynez Valley. The Cachuma Operations and Maintenance Board, or COM, is made up of 5 member agencies: the City of Santa Barbara, Goleta Water District, Carpinteria Valley Water District, and the Santa Ynez River Conservation District Improvement District No. 1.
So the project was originally constructed for water supply for those 5 agencies, and they have full entitlement to all of the water in the lake.
Before the lake became our main water supply, it was home to steelhead trout,
whose passage was blocked by Bradbury Dam, so they could no longer get to the upper watershed for spawning and rearing habitat.
But in the 90s, the steelhead was listed as endangered, and the Cachuma Operations Board was mandated to reestablish steelhead trout passage.
So to offset the impact of that, we increased the lake level by 3 feet, which we call surcharging the reservoir, by increasing the height of the radial gates on the dam by about 4 feet to accumulate 3 feet of additional water. And that only happens when it's really wet weather and the reservoir fills and spills.
3 feet may not seem like a lot, but for trees along the water line, this could mean the difference between life and death, like it was for this tree. This project aims to mitigate these losses.
So, in an effort to offset the losses caused by an increase in the water level, the Cachuma Operations Board began the Oak Tree Restoration Project.
We had to put together a pretty extensive oak tree restoration program so we could replace those trees that would be impacted by surcharging the reservoir.
The program includes a planting of 375 trees each year for 3 years, a 2-to-1 replacement ratio.
We planted varying sizes of trees over the whole project scope in hopes that we would offset just different detriments that they go through during the year. So just trying to hedge our bet over success, and it's been very, very successful. Even though a tree will drop maybe 20,000 acorns and there's 1 out of 20,000 that may sprout into a tree, there's so many factors just in nature that play into the possible survival or demise of that tree, from insects at an early stage to drought to animals. You know, just depend. It's just as nature is. You can't predict it. No one's the expert.
Thanks to the support from COM and active members like the City of Santa Barbara, this project is able to enhance and replenish the environment and contribute to the diverse habitat surrounding Lake Cachuma.
And everybody should be very, very proud that the whole county is a part of this project, because it's a part of what everyone uses.
Co-members say saving an endangered species and an iconic tree are well worth the effort.
This fish is an important part of our overall fishery ecosystem in the San Ynez River, and it's important to try to not only help it from going extinct, but also to carry out recovery actions for the steelhead.
A lot of people say, well, there's billions of oak trees, you don't need to worry about oak trees. But when you look at the total world picture, if everybody did their little part, the big part fills in. And this is a little part that really is a big part.
For more information about the Cachuma Operations and Maintenance Board, you can visit our website, citytv18.com. Well, the California Integrated Waste Management Act required jurisdictions to divert 50% of solid waste from landfills. Santa Barbara reached that goal by the year 2000. Now the City Council has set higher goals of waste diversion to 70% by 2010. To help reach that goal, a pilot program was recently launched, and because the program benefits the environment, local businesses are eating up the idea.
Santa Barbara has been dumping its garbage at the Tihiguas landfill since 1967. And now it's nearing maximum capacity, making diversion from the landfill a high priority. Recycling paper, aluminum cans, and glass helps divert waste from the landfill. But the city hopes to take a step further through a pilot food scrap recovery program.
When we look at our waste generation overall at the city of Santa Barbara, almost 20% of our waste that we generate is food scraps. And what we've really been working on with this program is taking a look at the last stream, as we look at it in Santa Barbara's waste generation, that we haven't been addressing. We have a really comprehensive recycling program that we're building up for businesses and for residences, but we've never really taken a look at food scraps. And that's the part of our stream that we're not recycling, and it's about 25,000 tons a year.
The innovative program is 2 years in the making. Just a few months ago, it made its debut at Cottage Hospital, Santa Barbara City College, Sojourner Cafe, and Coffee Cat. So far, the results have been promising.
In the past, we used to do a little composting with a local farm, and that kind of fell through because it would sit for days and days, and it just got a little messy. And we kept on looking for someone to take our compost, but this is perfect. They pick it up every day, and the city provides us with trash cans, the bins, potato bags, which we have an endless supply of. So it's working out well.
We used to put everything in the trash containers, and since we started this new program, we've been very happy to use it.
Here at the Coffee Cat, your food scraps don't go to waste. Instead, they go in these compostable bags, which are provided by the city. From there, they are hauled to a certified composting facility.
It was amazing almost within the first day how much of what we were throwing out was food in compostable material. And it's amazing, like it's cut our garbage in about half.
Not only does food scrap recovery help divert waste from the landfill, it also benefits local agriculture and the environment.
40% of California's greenhouse methane emissions actually come from landfills, and that's all from buried food matter, green waste in the landfill. And so we see as collecting these food scraps before they go to the landfill and diverting them into compost as being a really significant initiative in terms of climate change. And secondly, turning food scraps into compost is a really fantastic process because it allows us to give those food scraps in a usable form back to agricultural land. We can keep it right here in Santa Barbara.
We like it, and we'll be using it, all the time because it's great for the environment.
We go through a lot of food scraps, and now I want to put on the menu, if you don't eat it, it's okay.
Over 16,000 pounds of vegetable cuttings, coffee grounds, and leftover food scraps have been collected so far from the 4 pilot program participants. Santa Barbara Zoo, Aldo's Restaurant, and several more businesses will participate in coming months. For more information, go to sbrecycles.org. Well, there are always live performances and hands-on activities going on out on State Street and in Paseos during First Thursday. Victoria Court has a few art galleries that participate in First Thursday. With its variety of offices, retail stores, and restaurants, Victoria Court is a popular place for residents to shop and work. Up next, Brooke Hawkins shows us how this thriving network of Paseos is doing its part to help our environment.
You may not notice it, but some big changes are taking place on the corner of Victoria and State Street. With over 45 commercial and retail tenants, Victoria Court is one of the largest mixed-use buildings in Santa Barbara. It's hard to believe, but before June 18th, recycling was not available in the building. But thanks to the efforts by a group of dedicated UCSB students, SEMA Property Management, and hardworking city staff, Victoria Court is now recycling.
We first, went through the process of contacting the management. Once we got in conversation with Robert, he was very willing to start a recycling program, and the UCSB students were willing to help us with the footwork of going around educating tenants.
This is not the first time an attempt has been made to get Victoria Court recycling.
Didn't really go over very well, not so much because people didn't want to do it, I think more or less because tenants just weren't informed, and a lot of trash was mixed in with the recycle dumpster, and in the end BFI found it more of a hassle than anything else, and they pulled the program.
The city learned from that experience and this time made education a key factor in ensuring that tenants knew where to recycle and what items belong in this bin.
Are you looking for the recycle bin?
Excuse me?
Are you looking for the recycle bin?
Oh, that would be phenomenal, yeah.
Right here.
Great.
Now, we've, with LEAF and the city of Santa Barbara involved, educating everybody as to the process and handing out the free bins for their offices and whatnot. I think it's going to go over a lot better.
Thanks.
This project is significant because it is the first time the city has worked so closely with a property management company like SEMA to increase recycling.
Recycling in general is important because we're reducing resource use and consumption of our finite natural resources. The City Council is making it a priority to have a 70% waste diversion by 2010. The commercial sector in Santa Barbara is about 15% waste diversion.
And along with the positive impacts on the environment, the program benefits the bottom line, a fact that all businesses can appreciate.
Right now we're spending probably about $4,000 a month for 3 trash bins to be picked up every day, including Saturdays. And adding, recycling just is going to reduce that. I believe the cost was around $500 to $600 a week. Passing that kind of savings on to the tenants is just going to make them a lot more, a lot happier.
The tenants here are supportive, and that they're, more enthusiastic about this than I am. I come in and I give them free recycle bins, and they're jumping up and down. It's like, well, all right, that really makes my day and makes my job worth doing.
For more information about what you can do about recycling, go to sbrecycles.org. Well, First Thursday is an outlet for locals to express themselves, whether it's through poetry or music. In our next segment, we take a look at how local teens are expressing themselves in a new and empowering way.
What can you create with 60 teens, a space to meet, professional workshops, and freedom of expression? Welcome to Shape of Voice, a new publication produced by local teens using their own subject ideas and artistic abilities. Shape of Voice was started less than 2 years ago and has grown into a quarterly magazine that can be found at newsstands, coffee shops, and local businesses throughout Santa Barbara.
This project was started by the Committee for Social Justice, and what they did was a needs assessment in several of the schools, and they came up with the idea to create a forum for youth to express themselves. They found a big gap between youth that are being served by other organizations, dependent on maybe their cultural backgrounds, ethnicity. So the paper really tries to provide a bridge to that gap.
Touching on everything from immigration to gangs to discrimination, the paper gives teens a chance to voice their opinions on topics that affect their lives.
I think it's different because the teens create it, and we talk about how we feel and the issues we are facing. So I think other teens can relate to it more than if somebody else would write it. You can just basically write about anything. You can express yourself however you want.
The group meets each week at 12:35, the new Teen Center, for workshops on poetry, photography, and writing. Working with local mentors and learning new skills creates a valuable experience for the teens participating in Shape of Voice.
The teens can express themselves in any way, shape, or form here at the Teen Center, and the art is one way to do that, photography and the writing and poetry and stuff like that.
We're going to try and get Sojourner to come and do a poetry workshop, which I think is amazing too. And we have we're going to have Colin Gray do a drawing workshop too. So we just started making a lot of contacts in the community with people we respect, artists that we respect, and I don't see how they would get that exposure anywhere else.
With these skills, it is the teens who produce the art, take the photographs, and write the articles and poems for the paper. With each new publication, the topics are chosen by discussing current events and issues that the teens feel are important to them. Not only do they learn the skills involved in creating their pieces, they also get exposure to different points of view.
Paulina wrote a paper on racism, and I think that was really brave. Like other teenagers, I think they're afraid to say what they want to say to like people. But like once you read other people's writing or what they think and stuff, you kind of get the idea, oh yeah, I can talk about anything I want to the society.
We kind of discuss what's going on, what is happening with the youth, and usually most of the time topics like the stabbing come up or a lot of gang issues come up and things like that. So we just take it from there and kind of try to create an atmosphere where the students feel comfortable and trust us enough to go a little bit deeper into, you know, where do we think these things stem from, and how can we really address these issues from a youth perspective and get that out there.
Shape of Voice is not only a sounding board for the teens that work on the paper. One of its main goals is also to educate youth about alternative forms of media and information that may affect their lives.
We feel like it's good for them to know what their rights are, and also in turn this makes them a little bit more responsible. And so we offer a legal column that they come up with a question that they want to ask an attorney. So we kind of took the topic of the young boy who's 14 that's going to be tried as an adult in our community for the murder of the 15-year-old boy, and the students hit the streets and they went out into the community and they asked them, you know, what does it mean to be, do you guys know what it means to be tried as an adult? What are we doing here? And so the kids were really getting engaged in their community and what's going on here and letting their voice be heard about this issue.
Although the paper is created by local youth, its target audience is more than just teenagers.
This publication is definitely not just targeted for the youth audience. We really want to have it be something that can promote a relationship or an understanding between educators and parents and law enforcement and the students.
As one Shape of Voice poet wrote, "I will find a way to change my future, to find a light in this darkness, to show them that our life, all life, is beautiful."
For more information on Shape of Voice, how you can get involved, and to read the new teen magazine, go to shapeofvoice.com. Well, that does it for this month's episode of Inside Santa Barbara and our trip to First Thursday here in downtown. If you want to know more about First Thursday, go to santabarbaradowntown.org. If you have any questions or comments about our show, give us a call at City TV at 564-5311 or catch us on our website at citytv18.com. I'm your host, Rachel Senes, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.